Right, so today we're going to make a soup with some of the vegetables that are left in the garden. So we're a few days away from November, but there's still stuff in the garden, there's still edibles. So we're going to see what we can find, and then we're going to make a soup on the rocket stove. So got some carrots here. These are a bit small, but I'm sure we'll find a few that we can use. So these are, as I mentioned before in previous videos, these are Chantenay carrots that I grow because you can get quite a few crops in over the year. The most I've had 4 crops, and they're a lovely carrot, really sweet, easy to grow. You can grow them in boxes, so you don't need this sort of deep soil or anything. I've grown these in boxes that you can see here, are from a vegetable market from about 5 years ago, and I use them every year basically. So free containers. The soil's free because the bulk of the soil is made from garden compost. Right, so there's a few carrots to be going on with. Let's see what else we can find. And there's a few beans here. Sorry about the getting in the way of the light. It's just a quick rough video of this for today. So we've got a few climbing French beans here that we're going to sling into the pot. And then we're going to crop these. These are runner bean pods, and we're going to use the beans from the inside of the pods for our soup. And then over here we've got kale, Welsh onions and chard. So this is going to be this will be the greens for our soup. So I'll just go and get a pair of scissors, and then we'll put these with the stuff ready to be processed. Right, so here's what we've got so far to go into our garden soup. So we're going to take the beans out of these runner bean pods shortly. So there's the kale, carrots, and then we've got a few small sort of main crop potatoes. So let's get all this in the pan, and then we'll get a fire made for the soup. Right, so just to recap, in the autumn soup pan today, we've got the beans from runner beans, and there's 2 or 3 different types in there. We've got mustard greens, we've got main crop potatoes, we've got climbing French beans, Chantenay carrots, chard, 2 different sorts of kale, some white garlic that was also grown in the garden. What else have we got in there? We've got some mustard greens, and we've put a little bit of salt in, some sage and some thyme from the garden. So now we're just going to put some water in. Oh, we'll put some olive oil in as well. Right, let's go and make a fire. Right, so we've just this minute got the fire going, and we've got our garden soup on top, and I'm expecting this to probably take around 45 minutes to an hour. So get some more wood sorted out for the fire, and then we'll come back and have a look. Right, so loaded it up a little bit more with wood, and we've got 2 pieces of timber on either side of the fire there drying out. So we'll just give it let's have a quick look. I didn't think there'd be anything happening yet, but we'll just give it a quick stir all the same. And this should be a real healthy soup. Everything in here, apart from the garlic, was literally cropped within the last half an hour. So not only is it incredibly fresh, everything here has come out of the garden. Literally where it's being cooked, there's nothing in here that's more than say 12 feet away from where it's been grown. So that's doing very well at the moment. so just leave that. So while I'm cooking this garden soup, it seems to be the right thing to talk a little bit about food and about our food supply. So most of the stuff that we eat is imported onto this little island where we live in Great Britain. We don't grow anywhere near the amount of food that we used to grow even decades ago. Our agricultural policy stems from what I remember, mainly from the Second World War. And basically we're subjected to market forces, and if there's any glitches in climate change and the weather, like for example the loss of a carbohydrate crop, then things can get quite difficult on this little island. And I'm not being alarmist, I'm being completely realistic here. So I've been thinking about this now for quite some time, for a few decades, and over the years I've gradually sort of more and more ramped up the amount of food that I grow and forage. And yeah, I would suggest to anybody who's got even the tiniest bit of space that they really ought to be thinking about growing their own. I've said this many times before. I've said this at talks that I've put on at festivals and workshops and stuff, but it really is an absolute and utter must. If we want to survive and thrive and be quite healthy, we need to think about our own food a lot more. For me, that means growing it mainly. So it's just something to think about, really, along with a lot of other things that are sort of falling to pieces and collapsing at the moment. But food's a very, very vital thing to be thinking about, and to be putting things in place so we do eat them. And basically this has been cooking about 10 minutes, so we've got some more wood there drying. We just leave it on the sides. This is wood that we found earlier in the year, and the only reason it's got a little bit damp is because it's been outside. And we've just been joined by Rex, the tomcat. You alright, pal? He likes it over here. I think he likes the fact that because the garden's south facing, it gets the sun and it's a bit warmer for the old boy. So fire's getting a little bit smoky. We'll sort that out and then we'll come back in a minute. Right, so checked the soup a few minutes ago, and the beans are nice and soft, which is what we were after. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop the fire up once more, and we're going to let it run down. Probably take about 20 minutes for it to run down, and this is the equivalent really of the soup simmering, and it'll soften the beans that little bit more. So yeah, we should be concerned about food supply, really, and people should, if you get the chance, grow some of your own. Like I say, if you don't have any land, seek out a community food growing project. If you can't find a project close by, you could either start your own, or you could start cultivating fruit and vegetables on any sort of disused or unused pieces of land, like the Incredible Edible Movement and the Guerrilla Gardeners. So there is options. It's certainly worth following up, because in terms of food security, personally, I don't trust the market, and we don't know in the long term how our changing climate's going to affect some of the staple crops that we rely on. So do grow some of your own, and thanks for watching, and as usual, look after each other, and see you soon. Over and out.